What's going on, guys? Happy summer. We're halfway through July, and we've got ourselves a balance update for Marvel Snap. Deadpool's Diner is right around the corner, as well as Alliances, and I'm sure we're going to find out more on both in the upcoming days, weeks, whatever. But today we're going to talk about all the changes happening to the game in the buff and nerf department. We've got a lot of cards that needed love and some too good of cards that needed to be tamed down a tad. Now, obviously, we both know by now, Second Dinner hates Speedsters, Quicksilver, the upcoming card Speed. They're just not great. But they also don't love animals. We've got Zabu has been erased from the game. He got Mufasa, died a tragic death. And then today we're going to talk about Lockjaw, who got the old yellow treatment. Once he got nerfed, we never saw him again. Next up, Jeff is going to get a scuba tank shot into his mouth and blow up into a million pieces like Jaws. But we're going to start with the changes most important to you guys, and that's the buffs. And that's Lockjaw. Lockjaw finally getting the love, and they've noticed that his play rate is absolutely abysmal. They're going to be returning him kind of to what he was. He's going to remain a 4-cost card, but he used to only cycle 1 card at a time. He can now cycle as many as you play each turn, which is awesome. That's going to help supercharge the archetypes like Thanos that loved Lockjaw in the old days, but even more so, Jane Jaw is a deck that I thought was great for newer players, but also just a solid deck build. We've got things like Blink to help out with Jubilee and other engine items that we're going to have to make work with the 4-cost Lockjaw, but I think is definitely a great step up for the dog here that has been otherwise ignored. Now, we're going to jump to the nerfs for a moment, and this one is pretty impactful in Mockingbird, who's essentially the new Jeff in Marvel Snap, kind of the must-have card, can be played in any deck, and we've been expecting this for a long time, if I'm being honest. She was a 5/9, and of course, every time you played a card that wasn't in your deck to begin with, she would cost 1 less. Well, they're bumping her up 10 power, but they're making her a 6-cost card. And you know what? I think most people are going to be okay with this change, and it's not even the worst one by a large stretch. Her going up 1 cost is probably fine. The deck's dedicated into playing Mockingbird. It could do a plan to get her for free pretty much all the time anyway, but on top of that, she's getting a power point. It's a shadow buff to cards like Nick Fury, which can now generate Mockingbird, but on top of that, you also have the upcoming Emperor Hulkling, which won't mind having that effect as well. I think this is going to be a good place for Mockingbird that is legit just taken over the meta and played into most decks in the game. And speaking of which, another card that got a nerf, Blob, who's going to be taking kind of the side hit for Arishem, who they've already specifically said is not getting a nerf. They want to see what Cassandra Nova does to him and the archetype. But as far as Blob goes, they're not changing much, right? He's already gotten a lot of different nerfs to kind of tame his overall power. But they are getting rid of his ongoing ability that was kind of there for the flavor anyway of not being able to move him. Now, first of all, that is going to make Cannonball a way less effective counter, and by way less, I mean practically non-existent to Blob. But on top of that, we can also use cards like Sauron with Blob in the Shuri deck builds that we'll talk about a little later. For those that don't know, or for those that just don't care, Blob, the ongoing ability, why this is all important is people were able to play Mystique after Blob, and then Mystique would then copy the text of the card and do the on-reveal thing, and in turn get a whole nother Blob ability for only 3 costs. And that was kind of, it was OP. People did not like that at all. So this is going to change that and give Blob no ongoing abilities. So not a bad change. Again, I think this was a good soft change to Arishem decks, if you will. And with that, we might as well talk about the last nerf of today. We got a lot of buffs to follow, but Ravonna Renslayer is getting a small nerf. Nothing too crazy. I thought maybe this would be her time that she got the Zabu effect, but they're taking her from a 2/3 down to a 2/2. However, they did say, and let me work on my surpriser, she's limiting card design and deck design in the game, which is a no-brainer in my opinion, right? Because Zabu was doing the same. That's why they killed him. But I really hope they don't kill the card. I think this is going to be towards that activate kind of ability that they're going to do with her. In my opinion, they're going to kind of go that route with a couple of these cards. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, again, go ahead and see this video, the thumbnail. It's going to explain what activate is. But Ravonna Renslayer, all good. She won't be played in C3 decks, but I do think she's a fine card overall, and it's still going to be used in the capacity that she is currently. Now let's go and talk about some more buffs, and we got to go with Viper, one of the most exciting changes today outside of Lockjaw, in my opinion. Viper was a 2-cost that I think was pretty cool, but then Annihilus started doing his thing, and they again, they killed her. They really nuked this card entirely, made it a 3-cost card. Nobody really wanted to play it, but now she's getting a new ability. Since the beta, she's had the same old. She would take one of the cards on your side and send it over to the opponent's, which was cool with some proper setup with the hood. But now, guys, she's getting a targeted ability here. One of your other cards here with the lowest power switches sides. Just so you're aware, this is a massive change to the card, right? So example time, you have debris that shoots the rocks to everybody's side, but in your lane, you also have a couple cards that you already played. You have Viper, but you're doing like a 50-50 coin flip if you're going to send your, Jeff to the opponent, which you obviously don't want to do. Now you can target this, making it much easier to set up things like Century or whatever you want to do with the Void, or other examples like the Hood as an early play, and then you can continue to play in that lane. Really cool, and also if you do it right, you can maybe even make it work with Angela. I think this is just a great change overall for Viper, giving her an identity while keeping the core the same, and you can more justify the 3-cost, assignment to her card. Now, it just said the second dinner hates animals, but that can't be true because we have 3 different kind of animals that got buffed up in the game. We have Sauron, who continues to get a little bit of love now for a while, going from a 3-3 to a 3-4. But on top of that, Blob can also be played in those decks, which I think is going to be a nice little option to going big with some cards, and then playing Blob on the last turn if you didn't draw maybe Taskmaster. Now, nothing crazy here, but it is your gentle reminder that Sauron Shuri is a very good deck, and to give it a go, especially if you don't have a huge collection. But then, guys, we have 2 other ones, Werewolf by Night and Hit Monkey. Both of these cards are getting 1 up in their power, which is actually pretty freaking nice. Hit Monkey, for example, is a card, and actually the Wolf are both cards that are kind of just complementing the deck that you're playing. You're already doing what they want and what you want, and so the stats really make sense. Hit Monkey has been pretty awful. Almost no reason to play him with some of the cards available like Mockingbird. But now, just one other card simply makes him a 3-5, which we know is a good stat line. Obviously, that's going to be very easy to pull off the majority of the time. With Mysterio, he gets even bigger by playing 3 cards in him. So there's a lot of ways to build this in with Mockingbird, and I think Hit Monkey is going to get way more love. Not, crazy meta, but definitely more attention from the players. Werewolf by Night, I'm shocked at. I actually did not think he needed too much of a buff. I think people aren't really playing him all that much. But with Lockjaw being adjusted and the Thor decks, I think there's a lot of room here for him to really pop off in his power potential as well. It's kind of hard to make the space work with him, which is why he's a bit awkward with his overall power potential. But both of these are going to be huge candidates just to be good and to have decks built around them. Definitely an A+ upgrade for both of these cards. And then lastly, guys, we end on Hydra Bob. Now, this one they did announce to everybody because they took him away from spotlights. Hydra Bob, to put it lightly, was one of the worst cards to ever come to the game, or at least new cards right there with Martyr. And they're taking him from a 1-4 to a 1-5, and that's because, well, snapping is a crazy condition, and even 1-5 may not justify Bob. Now, he could be played in things like, C5 decks, and I think there's definitely a home for him there. There's some movement decks that are spicy. Martyr, now, I don't know who's playing this card. I don't understand. She maybe needs to be like, I don't know, a 1-6 or just rethought of. But when it comes to Bob, yeah, I don't think you missed out on getting him. I think you're going to be A-okay. And if you guys don't know, I was traveling. And so if you do want to know Bob's history here, I'm going to play that because I love doing that for the new card videos, and I missed him for you guys. So quickly, here's the history of Bob. Now, Bob Dobolina was a sidekick of Deadpool, a coward and young man who was persuaded to join the criminal organization Hydra after his wife Allison accused him of not being able to hold down a steady job. And to Bob, well, the thought of a stable career with a dental plan also really appealed to him, although he was disappointed to find out that Hydra, in fact, does not offer full dental. First of all, this is hilarious. I love this backstory because this guy's got nothing. He's got no superhero powers. We're going to get to that. Second of all, it makes you feel a little bit for some of these henchmen, right? Like the Stormtroopers or Bob in this case, where you've got like Thor throwing lightning at their chest, exploding their insides. That guy's got a family. He just wanted dental plans, and now he's just, you know, meat on the ground dead. So again, Bob has got no superpowers, guys, and he doesn't have any training or combat skills, to be honest. But the training Hydra did give its minions was to primarily focus on running away and hiding when confronted by any danger at all. Now, there really isn't a lot to Bob here, guys. He did go on some crazy adventures with Deadpool in the Savage Lands. There's some other backstories there. Not a lot going on with Bob himself, but he, again, is one of Deadpool's allies. He even got a little bit of an Easter egg in the Deadpool movie, and even though he did end up leaving Hydra, he kept the uniform and the name. So there you guys go. That's all the changes from today, and I think we're going to have a lot of crazy just days and weeks ahead with all the new game modes and balance patches. There's more to come, and I expect this to be kind of the wave one. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys a couple things, right? Love Marvel Snap. It's been a couple years now that I've been making content on the channel. What content do you guys want to see more of? I try to ask this from time to time, right? Wheel of Snap is definitely something that you guys have said, and I'm working on something huge there. And just fun game show collaborative content. Let me know if you guys want to see more of that. Love the new card videos, but I want to continue to just have fun and passion for the game. I think it's cool to be sweaty and get high rank, but it's a game, and I think at this point, we're just playing it for a good time as well as, you know, just, it's good. It's fun. And I want you guys to enjoy the videos that I make as well. So be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And then, of course, on top of that, guys, if you haven't already and you do watch the channel, would mean a lot if you take a second and subscribe down below. It's just awesome seeing it. Typically, these update videos have a huge bump up in subscriptions on the channel here. Costs you nothing, helps me out massively, and I appreciate you for it. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy Snap.